Happy Halloween. All tricks, no treats. Actually, tonight is all treats. So I've been off of Facebook for a while, mainly because I have been hard at work with a whole bunch of projects, all of which have been coming to fruition at the same time. Got my little devil horns on because I have been up to mischief. The big one was something I wanted to make sure we had out by Halloween. So today it went live over on a gaming site called Itch.io today. It is initially only a digital release, so you can download it as a PDF. And it is a combination ghost story novella and also a role playing game and a journaling prompt. So if you happen to be doing NaNoWriMo this year and you get a little stuck or you need something to give you a little bit of extra inspiration, one of my other goals was to make sure I had this out in time for the November writing challenge because Lonely House will get the creative juices flowing, especially if you like a good ghost story. So it is a solo game of collaborative fiction. It's like nothing I've written before. I'm not sure that anything like this quite exists. If you're my age and you played those choose your own adventure novels, it's a little bit like that. But those can be kind of limiting because you have a branching narrative and only a couple of choices. And I wanted to have the most possibility, just the widest open ability to make this customized to your experience and the character that you want to insert into the story and the shape of how that evolves for you in the narrative. So it is kind of a feel between Shirley Jackson's Haunting of Hill House and Dunwelski's House of Leaves. If you're familiar with those, they're two favorite haunted house stories of mine. Um, while we will not get to the point where there is a reason for this content warning to exist, those who do want to indulge in this should know that there are claustrophobic situations later on in the story, um, a reference to childhood bullying and childhood trauma. But, otherwise, the themes are isolation, family trauma, exploration, and dreams. And it has the option to be a horror story, purely psychological horror, slasher, gore, speculative fiction. It could be science fiction. There's so many different possibilities with the way this narrative came together. So I am just going to dump us into it. Uh, Two mechanics for the game that make it a game and a solo collaborative thing is a journal and points called choices. We will see those in the reading. Uh, I'll pause a little bit for you not to sit down and write in your journal for this particular experience, but to sort of cogitate on the questions and imagine what it would feel like to pause in the middle of the narrative at a key point and think about how do you personally respond to this story? Or if you have a character in mind, how would that character in this story respond to those moments? And then we get to make choices about whether or not we continue and where we go with the narrative. So, without further ado, let me find my way to chapter 0 on my little reader here. All right. Are we ready? Chapter 0, Hard Times. The year hasn't been an easy one. Your last stable source of income dried up a couple of months ago. Then your roommate moved out, leaving you to shoulder the cost of living on your own. Now you get word that your landlord is selling the building out from under everyone. There's no way that's going to end well. You're trying to keep it positive, but some days it's a challenge. It doesn't help that you have nowhere else to go if things get really bad. Some people have family to fall back on, but you left yours behind years ago. You don't regret that decision. Given everything, you know it was the right one, but sometimes it would be nice to have a safety net. As you ramble through your living space, working up the mental fortitude to apply for some work, you find concentration difficult. You have so many conflicting thoughts racing through your mind. Maybe it would help if you wrote some of them down. There's got to be a notebook around here somewhere. Journal. How do you feel about your current situation? What else is going on in your life right now? How were you and your former roommate connected? Why did they leave? You set the journal aside, not entirely certain if it helped, but at least you have some of that out of your head now. It's so easy to get overwhelmed. You have to tackle the problems one at a time, or they'll bury you. You're thinking about that when a knock breaks the relative silence in your home. Your mail carrier calls through the door, asking you to sign for a package. Certified mail? It's hard not to experience a surge of anxiety that becomes worse when you finally open the door and get a glimpse of the return address on the thick manila envelope. It's from a law firm. Are you being sued for something? Did one of the bill collectors finally follow through on the threat to garnish your wages? Something worse? You're tempted to refuse the package, to pretend it never showed, but the mail carrier looks at you expectantly and you can't quite bring yourself to send them away without signing. Heart pounding, you scrawl your name and numbly take the package. The packet has some heft. You squish it around the edges, shake it a little, still hesitant to actually open the thing. It feels like a bunch of papers are folded up inside. You fear that your fear that this heralds some lawsuit sharpens. It would be so easy not to open it. Toss it onto your desk and to pretend to forget. But if you had to sign for this package, whatever bad news it contains is probably time sensitive. Putting it off will only make matters worse. You have a choice to make. And we turn to the next page. Choice. Do you open the package or do you toss it into the trash? If you toss the package, the story ends here. You never get to learn what's inside. Open your journal and on a fresh page write final entry. Then describe what you did instead of opening the package. What is the aftermath of that decision? What is your character's life like beyond this point? Be as brief or as detailed as you like. If you choose to open the package, turn the page. Of course, I choose to open it. You open the package. Neatly printed pages, several clipped together in imposingly thick sheaves, slide onto your desk along with an old letter-sized envelope. The envelope is stained and brittle around the edges, and it smells like something lost at the bottom of a trunk for 50 years. You push it aside. You can't say why, but just looking at it makes you feel uncomfortable. The rest of the paperwork isn't much better. It's dry and stilted and so filled with legal speak you have to reread each sentence several times before the meaning sinks in. Even then, the pages are confusing. The person writing from the law firm apologizes for irregularities and talks of the need to verify your identity before moving forward. You're certain this must mean you are getting sued, but nothing in the papers mentions that. And then you come to one startling, impossible word. Inheritance. That jolts you and seems too good to be true. How can you have an inheritance? You don't have a family anymore. Certainly no one who would leave anything to you. Nevertheless, the lawyer has your proper name, your date of birth. Obviously, they know where you live. You're tempted to dismiss it all as some mean-spirited joke, but the very density of the legal language gives you pause. 3 pages in, you get to the exact nature of this mysterious inheritance. There is a house in a place you have never lived, never even visited. That house has been willed to you. A sizable trust comes with the house, so large a sum of money that your head spins with a momentary surge of unreality. But there's a catch. Of course there's a catch. A stipulation has been put into place by the person bequeathing you this unbelievable windfall. The lawyer acknowledges that this is very unusual, then suggests that before you make any decisions that might affect your future, you read the enclosed letter from your would-be benefactor. The letter in the stained envelope. The one even now you can barely bring yourself to touch. You have a choice to make. Choice. Do you read the letter despite the queasy way it makes you feel? Or do you toss it all and move on with your life? If you choose to toss the letter and everything with it, the story ends. Open your journal and on a fresh page write final entry. Then describe what you did instead of reading the letter. How does this decision impact the rest of your character's story? Where do you go from here? If you choose to open the envelope and read what's inside, turn the page. I choose to open the letter. You open the letter. The paper holds a fine residue of dust. I don't expect you to know me or remember. I understand how this works. So, rather than explaining who I am or why that matters, I'll tell you what you need. There is a house in the country. It is an old house, and it is your house. But to live there now, you must follow my request to the letter. You must stay in the house alone for 7 consecutive nights. During that time, you can go out during the day to walk around the property, but once you arrive, you cannot stray beyond the gate. The house will know. You will not spend your time in privation. The house is in good repair. The kitchen is well provisioned. Additional supplies can be delivered, and I have set aside a generous stipend for this purpose. There is heat and power, though I expect phone service will be uncertain. The place is nicely furnished, and within its walls there are many things for you to do and discover. If you step off of the property for any length of time before the full stay is completed, the house and all of the money are forfeit. I realize how strange this request must seem, but it is my belief that by the end of your stay, you will understand. The signature at the bottom is more a decorative mark than a name. The florid scrawl swirls across paper as brittle and stained as the envelope. The lingering smell of mothballs and must hitches at the back of your throat. You set the letter aside after reading and look up at the living space around you. You've already started packing your life into boxes. Not that there's much. You know better than the trust the landlord situation. You've been screwed before. As you sort through more of the typewritten papers from the law firm, you consider your prospects. It really is a lot of money. A part of you refuses to believe the offer is anything more than a sick joke. How could it be real? Another part gnaws restlessly at the sheer improbable timing of all this. Surely it's a coincidence coming at your lowest point in years, but you cannot resist a sense that fate is propelling you forward. You're not certain you want to go. You have a name and number for the partner at the law firm who sent you this packet. A little checking shows the firm exists. From their website, they've been around for a while, so they're probably not a scam. It can't hurt to call and ask some questions. Why now? Why you? It's not like you have many other prospects. Before you make the call, you pick up your journal to get your thoughts in order. It's always helped before. Journal. How do you feel about this opportunity? What are your hopes and fears? And why do you think this mysterious benefactor has chosen you? You read back over the journal's pages, then once more study the letter. 7 days alone in a strange house, and then not only will you never be homeless, you will have more money than you could ever hope to earn in your lifetime. And if you hate the house, you can always sell it. The place has acreage. It wouldn't be hard. For your life to change, all you have to do is reach out to the lawyer. You must make a choice. Choice. Do you reach out to the lawyer to learn more about this opportunity, or do you reject the whole offer as too good to be true? If you choose not to reach out to the lawyer, the story ends here. Open your journal and on a fresh page write final entry. Then describe what you did instead of following up on the offer of the inheritance. What is the aftermath of that decision? Be as brief or as detailed as you like. If you choose to contact the lawyer, turn the page. Chapter 1. The Lonely House. You accept the inheritance, along with its terms, as strange as they seem. It takes more than a phone call to set things in motion. You have to meet at the lawyer's office. Any lingering questions about their legitimacy are laid to rest by the sheer formal gravitas of the offices. These are the sort of lawyers retained by very rich people, and you feel incredibly underdressed as you sit on the other side of a massive hand-carved desk. As awkward as you feel, the actual conversation with the lawyer goes easily enough. There's paperwork to sign, and you have to provide photographic proof of your identity, but after that, everything falls into place. The arrangements for your stay are certainly curious. From the lawyer, you learn that the entire estate is surrounded by a high wall with only one gate providing access. A punch code opens the gate, and cameras record the identity of any person going in or out of the property. An off-site company will be given your photo, and they will log the exact time you pass through the gate, as well as when you choose to leave. At least you know the place has good security. The lawyer tells you that by the terms established by your benefactor, you can choose any time within the next 12 months to complete your requisite stay at the house. You don't share that the new owner of your apartment building has already issued notice to every single tenant. They're going to tear the whole thing down to make a parking structure. You won't have anywhere to live in a couple of months anyway. You agree to head out to the house within the week. Side quest. These are optional. Describe the contents of your apartment. What possessions are impossible to leave behind, and why? It's a long drive. You pack a few snacks, but nothing perishable. It's not like you have much food to bring along anyway. With the gas for the road trip alone, your bank account is hovering near the red, and the generous stipend doesn't get deposited in your account until after you've passed the gate. Hopefully, you actually like whatever is stocked in the house's kitchen. You're not certain if you feel efficient or pathetic that all your important belongings fit easily in the car. Maybe a little of both. In your defense, there's been a lot of moving around over the past few years and not a lot of money to invest in possessions. Maybe that will change soon. It has to. How hard can it be to stay for 7 days in the same place? If you think of it like a vacation, the week should fly. Assuming the place isn't haunted. That's not the first time you've considered the possibility. With all the movies and memes out there, how could you not? You're not sure how you feel about potential ghosts, but even if the house holds some unearthly residents, so what? With everything you have experienced in your life, it's hard to find the idea of spirits that scary. The real monsters are people, every single time. After many hours of driving and a couple of wrong turns, thanks to your GPS dropping at inopportune moments, you finally arrive at the town closest to your new home. It's not much to look at. Just a couple of businesses, a post office, a combination cop shop and town hall. You spot a library, a picturesque park in the town square. More trees than you're used to. You are certain you've never been here. Nevertheless, the buildings, the people, even the trees hold a gnawing sense of familiarity. You dismiss the sensation as some combination of exhaustion and nerves. You've been driving for the better part of the day, and the place resembles every iconic small town portrayed in media throughout the years. Of course it looks familiar. But the sensation only grows as you follow the robot-voiced directions through the tiny town center, around several twisting back streets, and finally down a long and narrow country road. And then you see it, the house, perched atop a wooded hill overlooking the little town. Trees abound. There is no lawn, but a chaos of wild flowers left to grow with abandon. The meadow of the yard is held back from the winding gravel drive by neatly placed rows of pale, pointed rocks. Beyond the rocks, a regiment of trees flank the drive, leading toward what could be a converted carriage house to the left of the main building. The house itself is not what you expected, although you really can't say what you were expecting from the lawyer's vague descriptions. The architecture dates the place to a bygone era, and yet, at least from here, everything seems in good repair. Pristine, even. You slow, watching for the gate the lawyer told you would be here. There's a turn and a bend, and then your device declares your arrival. The gate is much like the house, not quite what you expected and in much better repair. A surprisingly modern keypad system is mounted to one side of the closed and locked gate. You know from the lawyer it's automatic, attached to a security system run by a company off-site. Even from the road, you can see the mounted cameras that will log your entry, confirming for the law firm when you arrive and if you leave. You have the punch code written down in 3 different places, just in case. You pull the car over to the narrow shoulder. There are no sidewalks. Those ended further back, closer to the center of town. Given the grade of the hill and the length of the driveway, you can only see the uppermost portions of the house from where you're parked. Even mostly obscured, the house seems to loom with a palpable presence. Your welling sense of familiarity returns, coupled with a dizzying rush. For a moment, you feel completely detached, like none of this is real. You breathe through the sensation as the sounds of your vehicle whir gently around you. To ground yourself, you dig for your journal. You've kept it near at hand. Journal. What are your first impressions of the house? How is the place different from your expectations? Are you still going to go through with this? What are your feelings about that choice? You close the journal and set it aside. You make one final check of all your things, the boxed up remnants of your previous life. You grab one of the slips of paper containing the punch code, even though by now the numbers have been branded on your memory. You're really doing this. Once you step out of the car and enter the punch code, the countdown will begin. Then you will have 7 sleeps to get to know the house and maybe even discover why it was left to you. You turn off the engine. It's time to choose. And that, my friends, is the opening taste of Lonely House, a unique experience of collaborative fiction, a haunting yarn of an old house that is mystery and memory and perhaps haunted, and exactly how haunted, or even if it is haunted, will be up to you, the reader. Catch it over on Itch.io. We will have the link posted. Happy Halloween, and have a wonderful rest of your night.